Hello, welcome to Pointstone Studio. My name is Jungwoo Park. Today I'm going to talk about early stage of openBIM environment, where you work with a couple of different architects for the large project. Maybe your part is building A, and other architects work on building B, C, and etc. Or probably it's a large building. You may deal with ground floor, and the other architects deal with different levels or different department. So there is always possibility in openBIM where same domain discipline use different software. So here I want to demonstrate how we can plan to flexibly or fluently work with different software. I'm comparing today like 4 different software: Revit, ArchiCAD, and visualARQ, and also openBuilding designers. Just to demonstrate. For architects, the important elements, I would say, of course, wall, floor, roof, and etc. But mostly the doors and windows are more important than any other elements from your library. So before you start work with the other architects, you may have to compare the IFC geometry. I mean, IFC information, most of BIM authoring software quite well transfer the information, because mainly these are just text, string, or Boolean information. Numbers, it's nothing difficult. But when it comes to geometry, we have to always compare, and each software has different features. So I'm going to talk about the architectural features, what we should compare, and how we can reduce the mistake between data exchange in architectural software when it comes to openBIM. And yeah, again, it is a lot of here the examples are on my opinion. So if you have some better idea or comments, please leave me the comments down below. Let's get started. So here I'm linking just the initial. Let's say we have 4 different architects working together in one large project, and so that we have to exchange the library through openBIM format, which is IFC file. Obviously, each software there is an option you can link native Revit elements directly to openBuilding designers, for instance. But most of case you cannot just link Revit's family file into other software. So the only way we use IFC to exchange the graphical information and also non-graphical information. Here I have Revit. Let's say the early stage we exchange the library. So we have here Revit architectural elements that I want to exchange with Graphisoft ArchiCAD and Asuni visualARQ, and also Bentley openBuildings designer. It looks quite good when I just export it. So you can see from each software in Revit, these are all the elements that I exported, and in visualARQ it comes quite good, not too bad. And yeah, it's not so bad. And when you go here, Bentley openBuilding designer, it's also quite import the IFC quite well, almost as good as other BIM software. And actually, I like the most openBuilding designer, strangely, because it's really intuitive. And here, let's say another architect using ArchiCAD. As you can see, most of elements came really well, and in 2D graphic is also quite nice. It shows the opening accurately from Revit model. Yeah, I think it's quite good representation graphically from ArchiCAD also. But there is also something very strange when you look at here. Let me go back to image. I just realized Revit has this level of detail settings for your view, and one of the like all the family of windows and door from my library, they have like this sort of coarse fill geometry that hide all the detail parts and shows very simple panels for the window, and this geometry appears in IFC Export. So when I go to ArchiCAD library property, and in 3D view you can see here the solid dummy coarse fill geometry is appearing, also in visualARQ as well as in openBuilding designers. So when I go here, for example, ArchiCAD, you can see there is obviously geometry here inside, but because of the Revit coarse fill view, this sort of panel is hiding the other level of detail view elements. When you go to visualARQ, for instance, this Rhino based, you can see. Let me go. You can see here also. When I go here, you can see these elements. They have also this funny, this volume that we actually don't need for our model. Again, you see. So this happens because in Revit, when I go in Revit, it's clear because we can control this level of detail based on coarse fill. Then it shows only the panel, and when I go medium, a little bit simpler, and also fine, then you have a little bit more detail, which applies to in my case for all the elements. So all the doors or windows, they simplify when it's the low level of detail, and medium it increase. When it's fine, then it even increase and shows the volume strategy of door and window openings. And I export IFC when it's fine view, and I let's go to check the family. Obviously in here, when I go coarse fill, when I select this, as you can see here, the graphic settings, it's only showing in coarse fill, and when it goes to higher detail, then it shows different graphic. The problem came when I export IFC for these window and door element, which is the most important for architects to exchange, that these volume was exported as well. So of course in Revit you can go to export mapping. When you go to export mapping here, you can control from door or window. Let me go to window. This sort of coarse fill view, let's say coarse, you can map to not exported, but even though when I say it's not exported, it still export this geometry, which I'm not sure why it happens, but which is annoying. So far I couldn't find solution, unless maybe you nest this geometry into family. So the nested family could solve the solution, which I have to test, because you can say in here extra parameter, you can say IFC export as not to export it. Perhaps it will work, but anyway, we know the problem why each displays each different software with this, the window panels appears, which happens to some of the door or windows dealing with coarse fill view, and yeah. And also, if you look at this corner window here in visualARQ, unfortunately the wall geometry is not accurate. So this sort of issue always has to be discussed between the architects. When you go to openBuilding designer, let's have a look. Yeah, the wall geometry, they are quite good and precise, but just this panel, coarse field panels, they just appearing. So I mean, of course, you can manually edit this sort of geometry within your own native software, but I found it's a lot of work to do it. In ArchiCAD also it appears this sort of coarse field window from Revit. So just make sure you exchange before you starting the planning work. You make sure it between the same discipline. It doesn't matter architect or structural engineer or MEP engineers. They should exchange their library with IFC format. Then compare the geometry by. You can definitely compare this geometry. Just simply visually you can check by importing IFC file in each software, or you could simply put in Rhino and then check by selecting duplicate elements, and if there's something not duplicated, that means they are not same, so you can compare with that. Yeah, because of the window and door is important elements for architects, and that's why I think it's important to compare this sort of geometry. Information part I'm not worried because it's quite good to exchange, but just I found that when geometry is not correct, then you have always big problem, especially to generate the drawings. In this case, in visualARQ, you see the openings are completely sort of off, which is a little bit annoying. This happened not for every window, but some of the windows. And here, as you can see in openBuildings, visualARQ, this sort of polygonal opening, it comes with a rectangular opening, which is very strange. When I compare other software, let's go ahead with openBuildings Studio. Yeah, the geometry here is very clear. It's nice. You can see. Yeah, they all came correctly. Let me go to Revit and find out if I'm not sure if I didn't assign here. When I go to coarse field, here we have also the panel, but luckily in this case this panel didn't appear in other software, as you can see. This is also something strange. When I go here, it looks like there is no panel. You see, there's no panel for those elements. Let's go to ArchiCAD. Yeah, in this case also there is no panel, which is very interesting. Yeah, so maybe could be material. The material, I'm sure material they are assigned correctly for. When I go, for example, this. When it comes to coarse field, the material here it assigned as the glass, coarse field glass, so it mapped to the glass. Let me go back to the other one. For instance, this corner window. Maybe the material for this. No, obviously in this template already is mapped as a glass material, so there shouldn't be any other difference. So it is glass material. So it's randomly, you see these coarse field panels, it's some of the window, maybe it's because of the geometrically more complex than simple single window. That's why maybe they show different geometry, but some of the openings for the polygonal one, they here is all wrong, so which is a bit disappointing for me, because I think visualARQ they don't have polygonal opening. I always had a difficulty to work with polygonal opening, so I always using Boolean difference to make opening for the wall instead of using window or door opening. I think this point the visualARQ team should work on this sort of opening profile, whereas ArchiCAD is pretty good, really successful and satisfied with all the geometry what we import. Just some of the, I think mainly this happens for the corner door and windows, and some of the doors, single doors, still there is this panel. Let's go to openBuildings Studio, Designer. When I compare that, it's exactly the same happens here. Also, that's the problem here. We have coarse fill within the door. So, to summarize, you just have to compare. I mean, we don't use all this sort of library for specific project, or maybe you create new the block elements, like Revit family elements. But keep in mind that which geometry is actually not exported and which one is exported from your Revit as an IFC module, and just comparing with different software by importing them and check if there is something wrong. But by doing this sort of early stage of data exchange between the architects when it comes to openBIM workflow is very important, and it could reduce a lot of errors in the future. I think this could be not very important for some of you, but when you want to create precise geometry, and from the geometry to create a good set of drawing, I think this geometry is very essential. And I see the future when it goes to IFC 4 and 5 in the future, that IFC geometry could support also NURB geometry. So one day in the future we definitely can create really good set of 2D drawing out of IFC geometry. So that can be very useful. At the moment, many IFC elements, they are sort of tessellated and showing in mesh geometry, but when I look at ArchiCAD or openBuilding Designer, you get almost exact same geometry from Revit, and you get quite good drawings out of it. So this sort of IFC workflow in the future, you don't need extra super skill technique to model some detail parts, because every software has their own strength, and we just need to acquire the IFC model in your native BIM software, and it will, you get almost kind of free drawings. Nevertheless, when it comes to openBIM, not only you exchange the 3D IFC model, but also you exchange 2D DWG file. So when you link IFC model for the 3D representation, you can just reference it and check the collisions or some design issue area you can check. And also the drawings, you can still link the DWG model drawings into your drawing area. So in this case, you can avoid this sort of graphical problems. But hopefully in the future, we don't even need to link DWG anymore from IFC model. Right, that's my thought and my idea about openBIM when it comes to large project dealing with same discipline using different software in the same environment. Then this sort of early stage of library exchange will be very essential. Thanks for watching it, and if you like it, please click on the like and subscribe my channel. That way you can continue to support my hobby. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.